Hi there, and welcome to another episode where I take vintage drive-in speakers, clean them up, fix the insides, and make them work once more. On the table today is a 1960s, 1970s era RCA style drive-in speaker with the floating knob. And I can tell you without even testing this or opening it up, I can tell you right now, I have a very clear feeling this thing does not work. And how do I know that? Well, when I bought this thing off eBay, there's a little thing called Truth in Advertising, and this was written on the back of the chassis. Does not work. Okay, I guess that begs the question, why does it not work? And what am I going to do in this video to make it work? Stick around, we're going to have some fun. I thought this would be an easy open. I was wrong. The screws were pretty much rusted in, and I had to use my drill to drill out the holes and pop this open. And as I was opening it up, look what I found inside. Sand. Lots and lots of sand. I mean, you would think that this movie drive-in speaker was last used at a Frankie Avalon and Ed Funicello movie marathon. Let's find out what's inside, shall we? Okay, well, look what we've got here. Stolen from, and I can barely read the rest of it. I'll have to clean that up a little, enhance it, maybe I can figure it out. But I can see right now, no paper in the speaker cone. That would be a good reason why this thing does not work. I'm also going to check the potentiometer. It might be lucky we can get something out of it. But, yeah, this is toast. This is definitely going to need to be replaced. And the case is going to need to be cleaned, too. But, at least we know why it doesn't work. Now, let me take some vice grips, get rid of these posts, and get to work. So, I was able to save a few things from the chassis. The potentiometer, however, was not really one of them. I tested it with a multimeter, and this thing is absolutely dead. So the next place this is going is the landfill. I was able to save the 6 flathead screws that would go here, 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 and here, and 2 for the sound brace. I saved a hex nut. I saved the spring that would normally go on the potentiometer, because those are hard to find, and the RCA knob that I either have to decide if I'm going to clean it and reuse it or just replace it, and that's going to be a game time decision. I also saved the speaker grill. These are hard to find. Reproductions exist, but not for every model. So I'm going to try to give this as much of a cleaning as possible and save it. The thing is, I'd really like to save as much as possible with this unit. There are parts I am going to have to replace. There's no way I can crack open that potentiometer and do any sort of meatball surgery to repair it. And even if I did, why waste the time when I could just get a new potentiometer for next to nothing? So, it's now we've determined why this unit does not work. It really was because the speaker was missing its paper, the wire was cut, and the potentiometer was blown to bits. Let's get to work on restoring and repainting and repairing this bad boy. After a good cleaning and scrubbing, I'm deciding that it's time to repaint this. So we'll use a little self-etching primer to bond the paint to aluminum. And once I etch this thing with the primer, I'll decide what color I want these things to be. So I did a little research on this internal graffiti inside the chassis here, stolen from, and you can make out the word Starlight, and maybe down here the initials FLA for Florida. There were 4 Starlight drive-ins that operated in Florida, at least 4 that I could find. One in Winter Garden, one in Plant City, one in Fort Myers, and the one that this came from, and you can barely make out the word, Chipley. Chipley is in the Florida Panhandle, and it's notable that this Starlight drive-in in Chipley actually The screen there in 1953 was destroyed when Hurricane Florence came to visit, and then they rebuilt. The land that the Starlight in Chipley existed on later became an automobile graveyard, and now it's private property. Now, I do think that it was not the Starlight that was in Fort Myers. Apparently, that Starlight was a whites-only drive-in and was not desegregated until 1967. And 4 years later, that one shut down. None of the Starlights in Florida exist today. So what we're going to do is give this thing a nice coating of gloss neon green and get rid of anything that even said does not work, because I'm going to make this thing work. Now we're going to do the reassembly of the innards. This spacing bar is going to go, it's going to hold the potentiometer into place. This is a brand new potentiometer. It's from Detroit Diecast, and they're really good people. I don't ask for any sponsorship money, and they don't give me any, but I recommend their products because they're quite good. Put this hex nut right through, like so. Thread it right down. And then once I get it finger tight, we break out the wrenches, make it real tight. Yeah, we're good there. Now the spring is going to go on here, and then on top of that will be the new replacement RCA knob. Now what we're going to do, instead of just threading it like this, we'll put the knob in, the speaker and everything on top, and then I'm going to screw. Let's make sure the knob holds in, which it does. And I'll screw these in to these little holes here. Come on. One for there, and one for here. Just a quick note to make sure we are turning, and we are. Okay, now it's time to put the speaker in. This is the original speaker grill, and you can see there's a little divot right here. That's the bottom. It goes into the unit right here with that bottom lip on the bottom. I'll just put these right over the 4 screw holes. And this speaker is a replacement speaker. It's from driveinmfg.com, but you can get a drive-in speaker replacement, a 4-inch speaker, at your local auto parts store or home entertainment system store. And again, like the other people I mentioned, I did not get any money or any product placement or any special benefits from Drive-In MFG. They're just very good quality people, and I have no problem recommending them. Did replace the rusted out screws with new screws, and just sound and look a lot better internally. It's a great hobby to get involved in. Almost any home restoration or product restoration hobby is just fun to be part of. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is connect wires. And I'm going to do that off camera, but I just want to explain where I'm connecting. There's going to be one wire that goes from this part on the volume control to this part on the speaker. And the 2 speaker wires that are going to come in, one's going to go to here, and one's going to go to here. I'll solder them up off screen, and then I'll test them. And then, if all goes well, we should be in a very good place. So, as you can see, I hooked this up, the blue wire, to the speaker and to the potentiometer. the red wire to the speaker and the black wire to the other post in the potentiometer. I had to put a little masking tape or a little electrical tape on there just because my soldering is still trying to improve it. But be that as it may, I actually figured out a way to test this thing out so that you can actually hear the speaker in action. And for that, I've wired it up to my Bluetooth receiver. So all I need to do is turn on the Bluetooth and turn on this speaker, this YouTube video that I made, so that I don't get a YouTube copyright strike. This is actually one of my previous drive-in speaker restoration videos. So we'll start it. Stuck to your car and you forgot to return it on the post before you drove away and it ripped off the post. Actually say, hey, this is my speaker, give it back. And of course you also had some people that like to steal them, and this was a nice little thing saying, hey, you're not the Monster Drive-In Theater, give it back. This one really has seen some better days. So yeah, it actually works. Now all I need to do is assemble the chassis, and we can take a look at this beautiful unit in its completion. Now that we have everything wired up and tested, let's try to get this thing connected again. So I've already threaded the speaker wire through the back of the chassis, and we're going to hook that back together. You see this nice swirly green color that came from the paint. Now, I could replace these with flathead screws or Phillips screws, but I'm going to be more authentic to what a drive-in uses, and that would be these Holt safety screws. Now, you can get a Holt screwdriver, they do exist, but these can actually be easily removed if you need to. I'm just going to screw this in. Just like that. So now that's in nice and tight. Give an extra little twist or three. Boom. Okay. And one screw for here. I have to tell you, this is a really fun hobby. And it's really great to actually be able to restore these units. There's a great sense of accomplishment when they're done. And now let's take a look at this bad boy. Now that looks impressive. That is absolutely beautiful. And it works too. And I want to thank everybody for following me on this journey where we take these drive-in speakers and clean them up and make them work once again. As I've said before, I don't take sponsorship money from advertisers. I don't have a program where I interrupt the video to talk about some software company or some website or some food program. I do, however, put my completed drive-in speakers on my Etsy site, which is chuckmillercreatives.etsy.com. And there you can find and purchase any of the speakers that I've put together on these broadcasts, as well as my photography and other products that I've made over the years. Oh, and one more thing. This does have the RCA logo, both on the button and on the chassis. And you know what it doesn't have? It doesn't say does not work anymore, because you know what? This bad boy works. Thank you for joining me, and please come back for our next video.